Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Craig Sager. Today it is Friday. We've got a great show lined up for you. We will be joined by Krystal Montalvo. She is the first female officiating for wrestling in GHSA history. She has a ton of experience with the sport. We're interested to see how this year went for her and what the sport has meant to her. We will also have Brad Watkins, Mount Pisgah's new head football coach, before we close out the show with our second round GHSA basketball state playoff previews for boys and girls. But let's go ahead and welcome Najee Wilkins onto the show to get into it with our fast break headlines. Najee, our show ended yesterday talking about the coaching carousel and the biggest openings in the state. The school that Max, Hayden, myself, you were all talking about was Pace Academy, and they obviously just made a huge hire with Sean Weatherspoon, the former Atlanta Falcon linebacker, Missouri Tiger, a great overall player. How big do you think this is for them, a program that struggled to kind of maximize their potential to get someone with the energy of a Sean Weatherspoon?
It's huge. I mean, obviously, it's a phenomenal hire for the program and what they're doing. Me and you, Craig, a few years ago, I got to actually meet Sean Weatherspoon, when we was at a gathering. And I was just always impressed with what you just said, his energy. And think about these guys he's going to coach up, right? The Adrian Cole of the world, Justin Weeks of the world. Like, that's going to be spectacular for them in terms of their development and going to the next level. And then you had a guy that was successful at Missouri with the Falcons, and now he can come in and show them that same thing. It's on level with the par of what Chamblee just did in hiring, obviously, Jamal Lewis and Ed Reed, except those are for positions, what I'm saying, or offense and defense. He's actually the head coach, so he's going to be able to establish a culture there, get these guys to play at an optimal level, and be able to kind of hit that next step.
Yeah, what I love about it is there were so many big names entering their hats into the race for some of these big coaching jobs this year. Adam Clack coming back. You had some other guys. None of us really knew Sean Weatherspoon was potentially interested in this job. And so we're talking about who are they going to hire? Why is it taking them so long? And then they announced this. I mean, what an absolutely awesome just moment for Pace Academy, a football team that really wants to get going. They have all this talent. I mean, this is a big time difference for them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's going to get them to where they want to go. Ultimately, we always talk about private, powerhouses here in the state. Always think about, Pace. We always think about, teams like Marist, but now we can say, okay, Pace now has the coach at the helm. What are they going to do at offense and defensive coordinator now, going forward? But now they have the guy that can get them to that next level and get them over the edge.
Yeah, and I don't know if people that are in their teens grew up watching Sean Weatherspoon play, but I mean, when he was on the Falcons, he was the most entertaining. I'd say he was a fan favorite of that entire team. Just the energy he brought, the spoon celebrations, the D-block show he was doing. He was such an exciting player. Really happy for him, and that's a headline that will go nationwide probably. But let's go ahead and we'll get into our fast break headlines. Najee, go ahead and get us started with Brody McWhorter.
All right, so Brody McWhorter officially announced his top 7 schools. He was committed to West Virginia at one point in time, but then after the coach change in Morgantown, he obviously decided to open it back up. His 7 include what you see here on the screen: Auburn, Mississippi State, Syracuse, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Colorado. A few picks here that I'm surprised on. One is Colorado, because Coach Prime, he doesn't really recruit high school players. So that obviously means that program feels very high about Brody and what he could bring to the table if they're recruiting him, and obviously they're a finalist. Now, he set up spring visits to everybody except Auburn so far. It just feels like he would fit that system so good down in Auburn with the receivers that they're going to have, how they recruit at a high-end level. Auburn makes definitely a lot of sense for him. But one team I'm surprised that's not on there is North Carolina. And the reason I say that is because Brody was developing a relationship with Coach Belichick, and obviously the staff there, he talked very highly of them. I thought that would be a program that would be in his top 7 at least. But that is something to watch going forward for his recruitment, because that could be a team that sneaks up there. You'd be like, well, it wasn't in his top 7, but then when he narrows it down and he goes to maybe a top 3, or he officially makes a decision, don't be surprised if North Carolina's in there.
Yeah, very interesting. I was actually going to ask you what school not on the top 7 surprised you, so you answered that perfectly. What do you think Brody has to prove this year? Because obviously he's number 36 overall quarterback in the country. He missed a lot of last season. He's already on people's radar. I mean, how big is 2025 for him?
It's huge. I mean, not in terms of recruiting. He has everything he wants, the offers that he wants. But in terms of taking Cass to that next step, me and you, Craig, have talked about this so much. Coach Gates is a great coach. They got a great program. Can they make a run? Can they get to a Final Four? Can they get to a state championship game? Right? Go back and look at Calhoun's team that's not that far, I believe, from Cass. They ended up not making the playoffs for the first time since 1999, a year prior, and just won a state championship. Nobody really expected Calhoun to kind of be that team. This year, can Cass be that team that, surprise a lot of people and take that next step and jump? For him, it's just doing what he's doing, putting the work in like he's always done, but seeing if he can lead his brother in the playoffs and make a run.
Yeah, and then talk real quick just about the growth you saw the previous season in 2023, just from where he started the season to that win over Cal and then the playoff run. I mean, how much better did he get?
He got a lot better. Remember when you were having that conversation when they played against Cartersville, put it in his hands, let's see what happens, right? Then he goes on the road on TV against Cal, a team that was favored, a top end seeded at one point. Remember, they were a 4 seed and they went and won. He was one of the players of the game. That tells you everything you need to know about Brody. Obviously, he's a guy that has that moxie. He's a guy that can make the throws. He can win big games. But we just want to see it in his final year, see if he can do it again and kind of recapture that magic.
Certainly. All right. Well, Najee, let's talk some hoops. On the next headline with Sandy Creek, a big milestone they achieved.
Yes, so no easy feat, but they have now achieved 8 straight 25-win seasons. Per the X account of their head coach, John Michael Nickerson, he said for the 8th straight season, we have accomplished this. Winning isn't easy. There are some spoiled fans in our community who expect it. So grateful to be a part of it all. So proud of our guys to continue making history. Accomplishing 25 wins in a season is very difficult, much less 8 straight. Culture matters. Sandy Creek will play Westover this upcoming weekend for a chance to go to the quarterfinals or Elite 8.
Yeah, and what people might not know, Sandy Creek was a basketball team that had a reputation of, oh, they're great, but they can't win the big game. They can't win the championship. They got rid of that stereotype a few years ago. They've become a premier team, and that is very impressive with how hard their schedule is to knock out 25 wins 8 years in a row. All right, headline number 3, Mount Perrin stays hot, downs Wesleyan in round 1. We had Mount Perrin on the show this week to talk about their hot streak. Cameron Hewling scored 28 points, and Mount Perrin continued its late season surge as it defeated Wesleyan 66-51 in the first round of the Class 3A private school state tournament. The Eagles, now 18-13, led 28-22 at the half before they started to pull away with a 14-4 run in the third quarter. Christopher Park made a three-pointer and added 3 free throws after getting fouled on another attempt. The Wolves responded with back-to-back layups by Grant Schlellheimer and Nate Gayassi. We played extremely hard, said Coach Chuck Fearson. They are a well-coached team that is a lot better than the record says, and to be honest with you, they put a lot of fear in people's hearts because they don't quit. So this was a resilient effort overall for both teams. The Eagles have now won 6 games in a row in 9 of their last 10. Najee, what are your quick thoughts just on Mount Perrin, what they were able to do in that first round?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Cameron Hewlin was a player when we had him in the studio this past week that they talked about, underrated player that's been getting it done for them. It's just been an incredible run. They're seizing the moment. We talked a little bit about their story, 5-21 when they first took over the program to where they are now. They're playing some really good basketball. They believe that's the biggest thing, and they're finishing the drill. They're going to play Lovett this weekend. Obviously, we'll talk about that here in a couple of segments later on. But I think Coach Fearson, Coach Wallace, Coach Cranford, they got them guys ready to go, and they are dangerous.
Yep, they are still alive, but right now we're going to talk about a player whose prep career came to an end. He was absolutely phenomenal for Benedictine over the last 4 seasons. That is Caleb Jones. They got defeated by Marist in the first round. Trailing by 13 points and heading into the final quarter, the Benedictine basketball team was in a familiar position with their backs against the wall. But as he has done so many times before, Caleb Jones raised his game to another level. The standout guard put his team on his shoulder to ignite a rally and drained a three-pointer at the top of the key to tie the game up with 4:27 left, erasing that 13-point deficit. Ultimately, though, they fell 68-59. It was the final high school game for Jones, who has led the cadets to Final Four finishes in Class 4A the last 2 years. He scored a game-high 30 points in his final high school game. Stephen Cannon added 8. The Cadets quarterback on their football team, Maris, improved to 21-8 on the season. They had 19 points from James Walsh. Pretty good first round game. Jones was the All Greater Savannah Player of the Year last season. We'll see if he wins it again, averaging 27.8 points per game. All right, headline number 5. Let's talk about Walton's huge win over Tift County in the first round. Caesar Burrows scored 19 points to help Walton over Tift County 67-31 in the opening round of the 6A playoffs. The Raiders, now 21-5, got off to a very hot start in the first half. They hit 7 3-pointers and took a 37-12 lead into the half. Burrows scored 14 points in that first half, including 8 of the team's 13 first quarter points. The Blue Devils were led by Caden Lawson, who had 12 points. Najee, real quick, when you look at them holding Tift County to 31 points, do you think Walton's defense is in playoff form and ready to make that run?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's going to be key, Craig. We've talked about it. We talked about that bracket and broke it down this past week. For Walton, we know they can score. We know how good Caesar Burrows is. But if their defense can match up against some of these elite teams and hold them, let's say, for example, they're going against a Wheeler or a Grayson or somebody like that, they can hold a team like that to 60 or 50 points. They have a chance to make some noise, potentially, and maybe even upset somebody and get to a state title game. But the defense is going to be crucial for them if they want to get to that point.
Certainly. And then just so many other guys on that team that are contributors. You had Caden Gilstrap. He had, looks like 11 points. Nick Allen, also 11 points. But for Coach Abney, it was the defense that impressed him most, holding the opponent to just 31 points. But that's it for segment number 1. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back on the other side with Krystal Montalvo, the first female wrestling official to work a GHSA state wrestling tournament.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this?
Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now, we've got a very exciting guest, Krystal Montalvo, coming on the show to talk about some wrestling and how she has created a profession out of officiating. Welcome to the show, Krystal. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So walk us through just how you first got into wrestling and what it was like to go out for the team, maybe not having that experience before, and what those initial seasons wrestling were like.
So I'm actually from Texas. My high school had just started the wrestling team my freshman year, so I got really lucky. It was back in 2004, so I wrestled from 2004 to 2008. I wrestled in the 102-pound weight class. Texas actually has girls, had girls wrestling sanctioned since '97. So, I mean, I never had to wrestle boys. I don't even know what that's like. So, props to the girls that do go through that. Um, I don't really remember placing my freshman and sophomore year, but in my junior year, I finally placed sixth at state. We actually don't have divisions. Well, back when I wrestled, we didn't have divisions. Now we do. As soon as I graduated high school, I went and joined the Navy. I served for about 8 years. And then when I got out, a friend of mine that I used to wrestle back in high school was, she introduced me to officiating, and I took her up on it, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, and so I believe you were in the Navy until about 2016. You talked
Yes.
a little bit about your wrestling career in high school. I saw somewhere you had an injury your senior year, but really 4 successful seasons.
Yes.
I mean, did you have wrestling on your mind at all until you reconnected with your friend, or did you ever follow it or look back at how your school was doing?
So when I joined the Navy, I had originally joined because my coach had taken us to go see a Marine Corps practice for wrestling practice, and I was like really interested. I didn't know whether or not they had a girls team. So when I talked to the recruiter, he said we would talk about it. We never ended up getting there, and I mean, I just served my 8 years and then just came back home.
And then it's interesting because you mentioned that in Texas, girls wrestling has been a sanctioned sport since 1997. In Georgia, we started as a sport a few years ago, but when it comes to officiating, that's still very male dominated. So what was that like just going into that field the first couple of years?
First couple of years are a little difficult. Everyone's just trying to get a feel for you. I mean, it's a tough sport. It's a different level. When you think of girls, and I mean, not to stereotype anything, but girls is dance, it's cheer, it's all these other, soft sports. But wrestling's a different level. So when you introduce girls into that type of environment, I mean, it's a little bit of a balance work to figure it all out. First few years, like I said, a little difficult, but once you gain confidence and once you know the rule book, that's the number one thing I've always been taught: know the rule book front to back, be able to recite things. Once you have that confidence, you're good to go.
Yeah, and have you always had that confidence, or was it wrestling in high school and then joining the Navy that basically gave you the credentials, if you like, to be able to go out there and have that experience firsthand?
Yeah, I've always been, my personality in general has always been outgoing, very outspoken. I'd like to voice my opinion. So, yeah, that's definitely carried on throughout my entire officiating career.
And we see that GHSA logo right there. So when did you first arrive over in Georgia, and how has that been working with the GHSA?
So I did the Texas State Tournament back in 22. My husband was also prior military. He got out for 6 years and then he rejoined. And so when he rejoined the Navy, we had to relocate to Tallahassee. I didn't realize how close it was to Georgia until one of my other officials, one of my friends that was officiating there, said that Georgia was pretty close by and I could do both if I wanted to. And I said, all right, I'll jump on that, see how it goes. And so we moved over in 22. I did the first 2 seasons in Southwest, or I don't know exactly what the association's name is in Southwest Georgia. But I did that, Tallahassee, and then we just moved over to Jacksonville this past June. So I did a little bit of Southeast and Jacksonville this season.
And then the state championships, I mean, that is a very intense environment. As a fan, It's fun. There's a lot going on, but just being on the mat, that's got to be pretty wild. What's it like just officiating a championship match, just knowing how much is on the line?
Yeah, it's very nerve-wracking. I actually practice yoga also, so a lot of breath work. I practice a lot of breath work. I practice positive affirmations. learning how to calm myself in these type of situations, just talking myself down, waiting, telling myself, give it just one more second. You want to be absolutely sure before you make this call.
Right, and then you went from, or sorry, did you go from officiating the girls tournament to the boys? Was this the first year you'd done the boys?
I did the last season. I did the girls state duels series. Unfortunately, I wasn't available to do the boys. And then this season, I was offered both of them, but I only did the boys. And then obviously I got selected for the state tournament in Georgia. So I did, first day I did just boys, obviously. And then second day, I did boys and girls. And then day 3, I did only girls.
All right, and then do you have any just, I guess, motivation to give back or maybe help other girls that want to come into the profession now that there's more girl wrestling happening in different states?
Yeah, so we actually have a group going on. It's called One Women's Officiating Network. We have a page on Instagram. You can follow us there. But we try and gather as many women officials to come in, join the group. We help support you. You have questions, we answer them. Just very encouraging. I encourage all the girls when I see them at these events, reach out to me. Give me all of your information if you want to officiate, and I'll help you out. I'll mentor you.
And then, I mean, do you have like a come down period after officiating a big event like the championship? Is it hard to kind of relax after that?
Well, this season, unfortunately, I don't have that because right after Georgia State, this week I had 3 Florida districts. I get a small break, and then I get boys regionals, and then I just got selected for their state tournament. So that'll be coming up in the next 2 weeks. So when all of this is over, yeah, I will definitely take a nice big break.
Absolutely. And then what have you just noticed about maybe the way the GHSA operates, the size of their tournament, that you can really see just how much the sport of wrestling means in the state of Georgia?
Yeah, that's you guys have a lot of wrestlers. I was very pleasantly surprised by seeing how many classifications, just how many mats you guys had down. I mean, everyone talks about that second day and how late we went. I have never experienced something like that ever. So it was quite a spectacle to see, for sure.
And then what's unique about just the wrestling community, just the passion that people share for this sport?
Everyone always talks about like the discipline in wrestling. I think when you talk about individual sports in general, you're the only person out there. You have to have discipline. And I think that's what I love most about the sport is just being driven on your own, being self-motivated, and wanting to win it all on your own.
Absolutely. Well, Krystal, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to see you continue to be in the officiating career and what you guys are doing with that organization. And we hope to catch up with you later on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so there goes Krystal. Great interview right there. Don't go anywhere, though. We will break down the second round matchups for boys and girls basketball.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now, before we get into basketball, we're going to be joined by Brad Watkins, Mount Pisgah's new football head coach, to talk about the Patriots and this new job. Let's go ahead and welcome Coach Watkins to the show. How's it going, Coach?
Not too bad. Appreciate you guys having me on.
You bet. So this is going to be your first high school head coaching job, and it's also at a private school. So talk just a little bit about maybe an adjustment going from places like Cedartown and Campbell to a private school setting in a smaller classification.
Yep, absolutely. Well, unbelievably excited for the opportunity. I want to thank our AD, Dana Ridenauer, and Dr. Harmon, our head of schools, for the opportunity. But the biggest thing is kind of like Cedartown, the small community, right? And the ability to pour into those kids and help them be the best that they can be. I know obviously there's a difference, between the public and the private, but at the end of the day, we're impacting young people, we're pouring into them and trying to make them the best possible that we can.
Yeah, and Coach, we've had Mount Pisgah in our Corky Kell Classic over the years, and one of the things I noticed about the program, some of the seasons they were out there with very thin numbers in terms of overall roster size. That's one of the things you have to adjust to in a smaller classification. So is that something that might be different for you, just having guys that are going to be playing both sides of the ball a little more than at previous spots?
It is a little bit, but again, at Cedartown, we had guys playing both ways as well. So it won't be a huge transition for me. Obviously, we're going to put the best 11 on the field, both sides of the ball and in the kicking game. So it give those kids an opportunity to make some plays and do some great things on the field.
And then let's start with Cedartown. Maybe something that you learned from that school. Before you answer, when I think of Cedartown, the hard work that team pours into the weight room would be what stands out most. But what's your takeaway from just how Cedartown was able to run things?
I mean, Coach Abrams obviously did a great job there, getting the community backing and getting everybody there. The kids were bought in. And I think it's once you show the kids how much you care about them, then they'll give it back to you. One thing, obviously, we were, around the kids a lot and giving them and trying to impact their lives, not just with football, right, but off the field too, investing in them and going there. So that was one thing, obviously, Coach Abrams was great with. Obviously, we'll be the same at Mount Pisgah, and I'm just really excited about that, to get to know the families. I spent a lot of time in college and college athletics with recruiting, and that was the piece that I loved the most, was getting to learn the families, learning their story, and what makes those guys tick, what makes them get out of bed in the morning. That was one thing that Coach Abrams definitely did a great job, and the rest of the staff, Coach Rourke and Coach Worthington and those guys, of having an impact in those guys, not just on the field, but also in life.
Yep, and when you're in college, that was 8 years, Sacred Heart, Nichols College, Williamton, and Old Dominion. But then you were most recently at Campbell. I thought it's clear that the team had really bought into the new coaching staff with Coach Phillips, yourself. What was that like, just to see Campbell kind of turn that corner last season and what you guys were able to accomplish?
Yeah, no, those young men and families did a great job of buying in and doing exactly what we asked of them. Was it easy for some of them? No. We're asking guys to move positions. We're asking guys to do some different things. But again, I think once they saw the success, they were all in, ready to go. And one thing, obviously, the 2 years we were there, first year, schematically, we were more with the run heavy and more true of our true Delaware wing tee. And then last year started morphing it and adapting it as the changes. And I think that's one thing, that people always want to talk about is, well, you're schematically, what are we doing? Well, we got to fit the pieces and the young men that we have. So we were adjusting that this year. And, again, Coach Phillips does a great job with the rest of the staff pouring into those kids and demanding the excellence and demanding the hard work. And I think that's one of the other things, I learned from him as well is pushing the young men to their limits and helping them achieve that the best that they can, their full potential.
Yeah, and you mentioned the system, the Delaware wing tee. Obviously, you guys had a couple games the last few years where we're looking at it, and you guys did all that work on the ground. It's not easy to do when you know that, I mean, you're going to have to battle for every single yard. You can't have those false starts or penalties that are going to shoot yourselves in the foot. So do you have a similar offensive mind that's going to be coming to Mount Pisgah in terms of what you guys want to do offensively?
Yeah, so offensively, we're going to be, run base first. Obviously, you look at teams that make deep playoff runs and, win state titles. They establish a line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. So we will run the ball. However, we're also going to be, using it in the screen game, using it with the play action shots, using it with the RPO. So we're going to kind of meld several systems together. I think I'm fortunate enough to have been, obviously, some of the places I've been to learn different systems, right? So not truly just one system. I think we do a pretty good job on the staff is getting the best of our kids. And, if one week it's running buck sweep and one week it's running jet sweep, two different plays, but getting our kids in the best position.
Yep, and then for people that don't know, Mount Pisgah, it's in Alpharetta. Across the board athletically, though, I mean, Mount Pisgah has so much success. Basketball teams are amazing. Wrestling programs outstanding. You are going to have a lot of multi-sport athletes. What are you excited about in that department? Just tapping into some of the just versatility that you're going to be handed with at the school.
Yeah, I think just seeing those kids be successful and seeing them in a different light, right? So many times when we get into fall camp or we get into the season, we only see the kids see us in certain ways, and we as coaches can see the kids. Oh, hey, he's an offensive lineman, he's a guard, he's this, he's that. But seeing them have success in other sports, in other avenues, is really exciting. Obviously, getting into the Pisgah family, getting into that community, and seeing those kids do different things and not just football and just seeing them grow is one of the things so excited. But yeah, we're really excited about the multi-sport athletes. The ability for kids to do different things is huge.
And then they've had a lot of success recently. I mean, last season, the record might not have shown it, but what's your overall sense of where the program is at?
Yep. I think there is a great base with the program. I think, there's obviously the numbers don't show on the roster right now, but there is growth. There are students coming up, rising freshmen, rising eighth graders. So those feeder programs are doing a really nice job. And then also, we're going to recruit the hallways some more. I know the coaches were working on that, those last couple of months. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tap into there to see if there's, another sport student athlete who may not be participating in football but can have some success out there, have some fun. So we're gonna tap into that resource as well.
And then real quick, you just have a minute left. Have you had time to address the team yet or have that initial meeting? And then what was the overall message?
No, we're going to actually do that right before my first start date. That'll be on March 2nd. We're going to do a full team, kind of meet the coach deal. But my overall message is, for them, if anybody's dialed in right now, is just, we're going to care about you. We're going to love you. We're going to push you. But we're going to have success on the field, off the field. We're going to be physical in all three phases of the game, on the field, and just help you reach your full potential with whatever it is, whether, you want to go on to college and, play football, play other sports, whether you want to go to college just to be a student, or if you want to get into the working world. I was talking with one of the kids yesterday or the other day, Wednesday, I think, and I told him, I want to be at your wedding, right? I want pictures sent of your kids. So it's developing and building those relationships to get into the kid's life outside of just football. And that's what, again, one of the biggest things that I'm excited about and ready to get in and do that.
Certainly. Well, Coach Watkins, thank you so much for coming on the show. Congratulations. We look forward to it all, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Go Pats.
Go Pats. All right, so there you go. Mount Pisgah's new head coach, Coach Watkins. But don't go anywhere. We've got 2 more segments left. We'll break down these second-round matchups for the GHSA basketball state playoffs.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
are.
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting six figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now, we will spend this segment specifically on the boys basketball side. We'll cover the girls in segment 5. So we've got 64 boys matchups, 64 girls. We're going to welcome Najee Wilkins on right now. We're going to start in Class 6A. Before we jump into it, I thought this was interesting. Let's look at Region 5 in Class 6A. This is Wheeler's region. You had Wheeler win in the first round. Cherokee, the number 4 seed, upsets Lowndes. You had Walton getting the big win over Tift County. And then you also had Etowah, the number 3 seed, beating Valdosta. A clean sweep for Region 5 in the first round. We know how good Wheeler is, but what do you think that shows just with the depth out of that region, just being able to sweep in Class 6A?
I think it's huge. Like you said, you talked about it. Just well-rounded teams coming out of that region. Not easy to do. Obviously, we've seen upsets, happen all across the classifications, but that just goes to show that was a very tough region, and anybody could win on any given day. We've seen, obviously, teams like, Walton, Etowah, teams that went toe-to-toe with Wheeler. Just shows how good they are, man, and they can win on any given night.
Certainly. So let's start with these Sweet 16 matchups. In the top left of the bracket, you're going to have East Coweta. They beat Collins Hill. Going up against Cherokee, it will be obviously at East Coweta, the number 4 seed Cherokee beating Lowndes. You've got Meadow Creek having to play defending state champion Grayson. We're going to have Chapel Hill facing off with Wheeler. You got the big Norcross-McEachern matchup. On the other side of the bracket, Pebblebrook against Lambert, huge matchup right there, top 10. You got Walton going on the road to Westlake, the number 1 seed. Newton against Peachtree Ridge. Peachtree Ridge got that number 1 seed after their upset over Norcross. And then Etowah against Buford. Najee, I think every one of those matchups is off the charts.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, you're getting almost Elite 8, Final 4 type matchups already in the Sweet 16. So, again, goes to the parallels of what we have in the state. Just pretty elite competition going head-to-head. The Etowah versus Buford matchup is interesting. Buford's been good all year long, but Etowah has shown they can hang with some of the top teams here in that classification, right? Norcross-McEachern, we talked about that in the show a few days ago, about those two teams going neck and neck, have title aspirations, but somebody's going home early, right? You got Walton Westlake. Can Walton keep it up? Can their defense help lead them past the number 1 seed, right? Chapel Hill versus Wheeler. No one's going to talk about that, but Chapel Hill had some good players with C.J. Githers, but they got to go on the road and face a dominant Wheeler team. What can they do there? So you got top-end matchups all across the board. And Pebblebrook Lambert, I think, is one of the top ones when you look at what they have, at the helm, how good their guards are, and you look at, obviously, Pebblebrook with Zyrie Brown and their big man. They're very potent as well.
Completely agree. I think that one is a clear toss-up. All right, let's go to Class 5A real quick. We're going to start in the top left. We've got Winterboro going up against Lakeside Evans. Winterboro will be the 2 seed, Lakeside Evans the 1. We've got a big matchup between Milton and Woodward Academy, teams that have been number 1, number 2 in the polls all year long. A semifinal type matchup, maybe even a finals matchup happening in the second round. You got Houston County against Alexander, another big one. Houston County's had wins over Lee County this season. Alexander made it to the finals last year. You got Lanier against Hughes, another big matchup. Dutchtown against Sequoia. Rome against Lee County. Tri-Cities against Sprayberry. Brunswick against Habersham Central. What are your thoughts on 5A, Najee?
Yeah, like you said, man, that matchup, Milton and Woodward Academy, I think that's the top matchup of this round. It's crazy to think they're playing in the Sweet 16. Again, this is a semifinal to final matchup. Zach Foster, you got Jarvis Haynes Jr., you got Deke Cooper going up against Milton in their attack with Daniel Ogiemi and obviously Josh Dixon and Jaden Cole. That's going to be such a great matchup between two elite opponents. Can't wait to see who comes out on top in that one. That's going to be an intriguing one. The next one, Dutchtown Sequoia. Sequoia is a very underrated team. Not a lot of people have been talking about, but a really good backcourt going up against a really talented team in Dutchtown, who, like I said, I think can make a run this year. It starts with beating Sequoia, but that should be a really intriguing matchup back and forth. Rome Lee County is another one. Lee County for years and years has always been a competitive team. They always make deep playoff pushes. They should be in that conversation. Rome, led by J.J. Winston and Jamil Williams, they're going to have something to say as well. And last but not least, Tri-Cities and Sprayberry. Sprayberry upset number 1 seed Gainesville. Tri-Cities is very deep and talented as well. When you look at Trey Keith, you look at obviously Jalen Wingfield, they should be able to make some noise as well.
Great point on Sprayberry. We'll see if they can upset Tri-Cities. Let's go to Class 4A real quick. I think we have a similar matchup to that Milton Woodward one in Class 4A with Kell and Pace Academy. Looks like a finals matchup to me, but above them, it'll be Union Grove against St. Pius. You got the Kell Pace matchup, East Forsyth against Tucker. East Forsyth had a big win over Eagles Landing in the first round. You can't just underestimate how big that win was for them, beating a team that's been in the finals year after year. You got Cambridge against Jonesboro. We'll see if Jonesboro is able to turn it on. They are a number 1 seed. You got Midtown against Westminster, Southwest DeKalb against McDonough, Mays against Allatoona, and then Marist, coming off that win over Benedictine, is going to face the defending state champs, North Oconee.
Yeah, and that one, Craig, real quick. I really like the Southwest Academy McDonough matchup. Southwest Academy is very talented. They're led by Jackson Ushery. He's leading them with 12.4 points per game. And McDonough is a team a lot of people have talked about this year, but lost their head coach, lost a lot of pieces. But Zayden Green, right? Zion Green have been crucial for them. Zion Green is averaging 17.2 points per game. They've been phenomenal. Don't sleep on McDonough and their run and their flight, obviously, to try to get, to a state championship as well. And one more, obviously, Kell and Pace Academy. I mean, like you said, that's a finals matchup in the second round. Two elite teams. Do they have enough shooting to score in the matchup with Pace Academy in their depth? That's the biggest question.
Certainly. Let's jump to 3A real quick. We've got Sandy Creek going up against Westover in the second round. You got Cross Creek against East Hall. Cross Creek, number 9 seed, but they've been up as number 2 in the rankings. You got Windsor Forest against Douglas, Doherty against Calhoun, Cedar Grove against Luella, Upson Lee against Baldwin, Monroe against Pickens, and then Jefferson versus Peach County. What do you see in this Sweet 16 for Class 3A, Najee?
I think it's Peach County, Jefferson. When you look at Peach County, they had a big upset in the first round. Now they go on the road. They're going to face against Jefferson, a really talented team who's kind of had the number, obviously, of Oconee County. That's a team that could potentially make an Elite 8 push and run this upcoming year. And then Pickens versus Monroe, I think, will be another really great game.
Yep, let's fly through Class 2A real quick. Number 1 seed, Carver Columbus, 71-33, first-round win over Rutland. They will face Burke County in the next round. Intriguing matchup. You got Crisp County against Spencer, Salem against Franklin County, and then number 13 seed Columbia is going up against Butler. That's a big top 10 matchup. Morgan County against Kipp, Westside Macon against Union County, Laney against South Atlanta, Sumter County against Tatnall County. I think this 2A just shows how wide open it is. Lots of matchups that can be toss-ups in this field.
Yeah, 100%. Kipp Atlanta, Morgan County, South Atlanta, Laney is going to be the top matchups to watch there.
Certainly. All right, Class A Division I, Southwest against Banks County, Swainsboro against Temple. You got Toombs County versus Woodville, Tompkins, Vidalia, Worth County. On the other side of the bracket, Model, East Laurens are going to face off. Commerce against Putnam County, Dublin against Fannin County, and then Best Academy against Rabun County. All right, we only got 2 minutes left. Let's go to Class A Division II real fast. Top left of the bracket, Warren County against Randolph-Clay, Chattahoochee County against Hawkinsville. You're going to have Turner County versus Early County, Manchester against Savannah, big top 5 matchup right there. McIntosh County Academy against Taylor County, Mitchell County against Clinch, Bryan County against Mount Zion Carroll, and then Calhoun County against Greene County. Let's fly over to the private real quick before we get our thoughts on this one. You're going to have North Cobb Christian against Mount Bethel, St. Francis against Calvary Day, Greater Atlanta Christian against Darlington, Providence Christian against Green Forest Christian, Holy Innocents against Landmark, Walker against Hebron, Mount Perrin against Lovett, Paideia against Christian Heritage. What are your thoughts on the private classification in some of these matchups outside of the Holy Innocents, Landmark Christian?
Yeah, it's Paideia versus Christian Heritage. Paideia has been a really good basketball team this year. I know they've been in and out of your rankings a little bit, Craig. Them going up against a really good Christian Heritage team is going to be a matchup to watch. And I think the one that gets the cake, Lovett and versus Mount Perrin. That's going to be such a top matchup. You look at Cameron Cannon, Ryan Kane, who's been really good all season long. Daniel Gaston had a poster in their last game over Athens Academy. And then you look at, obviously, Mount Perrin, what they've been doing this year. Cameron Euling led them with 28 points in their win over Wesleyan. And you look at Shane Goins, who's a true freshman who's making a name for himself, and Chris Park. That's going to be a marquee matchup.
Yeah, I mean, a win for Mount Perrin over Lovett, I mean, that would just extend this incredible run they're on. Then, I mean, if they can get past them, it'll be Paideia and Christian Heritage, then a potential matchup going into Holy Innocents. What do you think about the Walker-Hebron matchup and just how Walker's been one of the top teams all year? Do you think they can turn it on in this round?
Yeah, 100%. Nah, Hebron Christian is deep from what I've heard. I heard they play really together, with each other. They got a really good big man down there that can feed the ball too. Great guard play going up against Walker, who's a very talented team, and got some guys that can bang down low as well. So it's going to be an intriguing matchup. That's going to be another top tier one as well.
Certainly. And then we'll see if Mount Bethel Christian can advance too. That region's had a ton of success so far. But let's go ahead. We'll take one quick break. Najee and I will be back on the other side to conclude the show with the girls' Sweet 16.
I don't know if you heard that.
Do we have news?
Yeah, tell Graham that they just released Sheldon rankings. I don't know if he can hear me.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. It is our final segment. We're going to cover the girls' Sweet 16 matchups. These will be taking place tonight, so you don't have to wait long. Just a few hours away, we will have Our Elite Eight's actually set on the girls' side, but let's go ahead. We'll start with Class 6A before we bring Najee back on. Got a matchup between Mill Creek and Lowndes coming up tonight. Lowndes defeated a dangerous number 4 seed Marietta in the last round. We talked about Marietta's star freshman. Lowndes, the more experienced team. Now they're going to face Mill Creek. Mill Creek's got to make that big road trip down 75. You got Lambert going to Grayson, the defending state champs. Central Gwinnett against Cherokee, and then Brookwood against Hillgrove. Hillgrove was the team that defeated Marietta and Campbell for that number 1 seed out of that deep Region 3. They're going to face Brookwood. You got Archer against North Forsyth. Be a big top 10 matchup. North Paulding, undefeated still this season, will play Carrollton. North Paulding's not undefeated, North Forsyth is, but North Paulding's been number 1. You got Newton against Norcross, and then Etowah against Buford. Do we have Najee on? All right, Najee, real quick, what do we need to know about this Class 6A Sweet 16, and then what do you expect to see tonight?
Yeah, so I think it'll be another great night of action. 6A, the matchup to watch out for here, Craig, is going to be North Paulding Carrollton. Carrollton knocked off the top-end team, obviously, in our girls' basketball records on scoreatl.com. They knocked off gosh, I'm train my thought. They knocked off Hughes, right? Hughes is a team that is a state championship contender this year, and they've been very impressive all season long. So Carrollton or Paulding is going to have a really good matchup too, a really good backcourts. The Hinkson sisters, you look at Ava Andrews, who we talked about on the show. I think that's going to make for a really great matchup. And then Mill Creek Lowndes. Lowndes is a team that hasn't got a lot of buzz down there, but they're very well rounded. And you look at Mill Creek with what they got, one of the most talented players in the country, at the guard spot. They're going to be very good as well. So those are 2 top matchups to watch for.
You bet. All right, let's go to 5A real quick. Left side of the bracket, starting at the top, you got Lee County playing Bradwell Institute, Creekview against Woodward Academy, Veterans against Alexander, and then Lassiter, number 3 seed, has had a great second half surge of the season. Will have to go to Hughes. Very tough matchup. You got Morrow going to River Ridge, New Manchester against Coffee, Tri-Cities, Milton, and then Brunswick, Habersham Central. Real quick, what sticks out in Class 5A, Najee?
It's Morrow versus River Ridge. I mean, you look at Jabiana Richardson, averaging 13.7 points per game. Indigo Brown, she's been great all year, 11.3. And River Ridge was the most talented team. We talked about a few years ago, them having the best starting 5 in the state, maybe even in the country. They have that yet again this year. Sophia Pearl, Kayla Cleveland. You look at Finley Parker, Michaela Roberson, Canty. They got so many players. They're going to be ready to go. That's going to be a top matchup.
You bet. You want to be the best, you got to beat the best. All right, let's go to Class 4A real quick. Top left of the bracket, you got East Forsyth. Man, they've been making noise, in boys and girls. You got East Forsyth going against Ware County, Cass Creekside, Stockbridge against Marist, Cartersville against Pace Academy. On the right side, Jackson Atlanta against Kell, Northview against Jones County, Midtown against Dalton, and then Warner Robins against North Oconee. Nice 4A matchups right here. What stands out?
Yeah, here it's going to be Jackson Atlanta versus Kell. I mean, that is such a top-end matchup. Maynard Jackson won it all last year. They got really good players. I mean, you look at Kaden Cornish. She's averaging 17.5 points per game this year. She's been phenomenal. And then Kennedy Deese, she obviously leads Kell. This is really a semifinal type final matchup that you would see 2 elite teams going head-to-head.
All right, let's run through this real quick. We're going to go to Class 3A. You got Pickens against Calhoun, Jefferson against Jenkins, Monroe against Northwest Whitfield, Doherty against Cherokee Bluff on the right side, Fayette County, Gilmer, Sandy Creek, Luella, Baldwin, White County, Chestatee against Heritage, Catoosa. In Class 2A, on the girls' side, top left, Murray County, Union County, Hart County, Sonoraville, Morgan County against Westside, Macon, Carver, Columbus against Tatnall, Hardaway, Franklin County, Appling County against Columbia, Thompson against Sumter County, and then Butler against Josie. Class A Division 1, Fannin County against Ace Charter, Dodge County against Heard County, East Lawrence against Bremen, Elbert County against Vidalia, Model, Central Macon, Putnam County, Lamar County, Worth County, Rabun County, Washington County against Banks County. All right, Class A Division 2, we're going to run through these all before we close out. Charlton County against Randolph-Clay, Taylor County against Wilcox County, Clinch County against Pelham, Greenville against Scriven County, Bryan County against Macon County, Johnson County, Turner County, Telfair County, Bowden, Seminole County, and Washington Wilkes. And then the private matchups to watch: Hebron Christian against Prince Ave, Mount Perrin against Southwest Atlanta Christian, Galloway against Trinity Christian, Greater Atlanta Christian against Athens Academy, Holy Innocents against Lovett, North Cobb Christian against Savannah Country Day, Calvary Day against Providence Christian, and Wesleyan against St. Francis. Najee, what are your thoughts about these lower classifications before we close out?
Yeah, I think it'll be intriguing. A real quick matchup. You're going to want to watch Mount Perrin Christian versus Southwest Atlanta Christian. Southwest Atlanta Christian has been great all year. They're led by Nakora Patrick. She leads them with 23.7 points per game. Mount Perrin's been a top-end team throughout the private ranks all year long. They'll be a team to watch. Bryan County versus Macon County here really quick. Bryan County's 24-3. Macon County's 20-3. They're led by Ashanti Brown. Bryan County is 15.7 points per game. And Morgan Cochran leads, obviously, Macon County 17.7. And then Class A Division I really quickly, Elbert County versus Vidalia. Vidalia is led by Hannah Nichols, who's averaging 13.1 per game. Very dangerous team. And Elbert County is my state championship pick. They're led by Sierra Rucker, who leads them in points and rebounds this year.
All right. Well, thank you, Najee. Great insight right there. That's all we have time for. We will be back on Monday at noon, but you will have plenty of coverage at scoreatl.com tonight and through the weekend. Go there for scores, updates for all the spring sports, and, of course, the basketball action. We will see you then.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I've made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Are you interested in becoming a deputy or a jailer? The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is hiring and looking for individuals passionate about protecting and serving their community. If you are 18 years or older, join our team by visiting gogcso.com for more information. Gwinnett County, together we can make a difference.